Okay, hello, my name is Brittany Porter. I am a energy healer and a spiritual coach, and welcome to Chakra Chat today. Hey Sarah, I am doing a TikTok live. So if you hear me talking to people, it is people in the comments. And remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more workshops or healing sessions in the future. And again, today is Chakra Talk, and we're going to be talking about healing our inner child as well and why that's important. So for your inner child, the reason that we want to go back and heal these pieces of us is because oftentimes our behavioral patterns and our triggers and the things that are making us feel blocked, energetic blocks, physical blocks, pain, is because it's coming from childhood. That's when we receive most of our matrix programming, where our parents teach us things. That's where generational trauma comes from, societal pressures. And so if we're not giving the tools to work through these things, it's all we know. And so we'll continue these like cycles because we haven't seen anything else. And so I don't know if anybody else is healing through those things right now. I'm still currently healing through them. It is a process. It's this journey. It is forever continuing because we can always heal at deeper and deeper and deeper levels. Sometimes I think that we think like, oh, there's like this certain point that we'll get to and we're like, okay, I'm healed. And I'd love to say that that's what happens, but it's always like a layeral onion. You can just like keep going in and keep going in and keep going in. And when you do that, you really come into like your divine essence, like your true authentic self before all of those things. And I always tell people, like, if these are things that you're healing through that I'm about to go over, most of these things are not your faults. These are things that we are taught in childhood, or we're not given the tools, right, to move forward with them, or we didn't have safe spaces, or we weren't taught how to process our emotions. And so this is nobody's fault that these things happen. But being aware of them, it is our responsibility to heal them. And so the reason that we're talking specifically about chakras today is because when we're trying to heal the whole of us, it's very confusing. And it's very hard to like pinpoint what you need to be working on. Hello. Oh, good. I'm glad I helped you figure out your sleep issues. Good. And that you're resting. Okay. So do you help with shadow work? Yes, we're going to be talking about some shadow work today. And this is shadow work, like inner child healing and Reiki, or not Reiki, chakra work is also shadow work. Okay, so when we break our system down into all the different chakras, all of them are like housers of certain things, and I'm going to go over all of them and what can come up if you have imbalances, if it's overactive or if it's underactive. Ooh, it was 222 likes in there. It was inner child stuff that need to be healed. I'm telling you, inner child healing is a root of like 99% of things I see with clients. If you think back to any of the things that I'm going to be talking about, generally it's something that began like when you were a small child or like teenager. Sometimes we don't quantify like teenagers being children, but they're also children, or like even young adult versions of us. Like when I was 18, 19, 20, I was still a baby. Oh, awesome. Thank you. Okay. So when we break the system down into the chakras, it's easier to pinpoint, oh, this is where an imbalance is. And then you start to feel it inside of you. So when you're experiencing something, you can say, oh, there's an imbalance. It's either overactive or underactive here. And I know what to focus on, or I know where to like go for healing. Right. And so that's why we're going to go over them today. Now, when we are talking about these though, they're not specific to each chakra because sometimes they blend. Like you might have something off in your root chakra that's also like housed in your crown chakra, right? Because everybody's system is very different and everybody has different experiences. This is just a general look at everything and what I've seen for myself and working with clients. Okay. I'm going to read some of these comments here before we get started. So we're going to talk about chakras, and then we're going to talk about different ways to heal, and then we'll do an activity together to help you get into this inner child healing. And then at the end, we're going to do a fun thing together too. All right, let me drink some water because I'll be talking. So when we are doing inner child healing, what we are doing is we are becoming the higher self to the younger versions. Just like we have a higher self talking to us, we're talking to them and helping them heal and process through life. Because when you experience trauma, and you experience PTSD, and I'm going to try and read comments in between when I'm talking in sections, just to make sure I get everything in. So if you're saying stuff, I might ask like, okay, does anybody have any questions or comments in the breaks? Okay, so when we experience PTSD and trauma, generally our emotions are trapped within us and then become hard and dense, and they become self-limiting beliefs, and they become behavioral patterns and triggers. And so if you have something that's unprocessed from childhood, you're stuck at that age with that thing. So like, you are an adult now, probably if you're watching this, but your child mindset is the ruler of that thing. And so I'll give an example. So people pleasing. If you had, let's say, a mom that was like, you're never good enough, like everything you do never meets my expectations, you might be people pleasing in your adulthood job right now, or in relationships in your life. Consciously, you know that's not healthy. And like, no matter how hard you try to overcome that, it's just still running that program. That's because it's not conscious adult you. You're trying to heal that with like 30-year-old you, 40-year-old, 50-year-old you. You got to go back and heal that 5-year-old. Like, a 5-year-old needs different support and different tools than you do as an adult. They're the ones that originally experienced that. And so they're kind of like living in this energetic timestamp of that situation happening over and over and over and over and over again. And it's not until we go back as a higher self and help them heal that you release that thing from your energy fields, right? And then you can go even deeper and start doing past lives and stuff, but we won't get into that today. What was my other one? Okay, triggered at family events. So do you ever, like, you're on your spiritual journey, you're awake, you're, connected, then you go to a family event, and all of a sudden you are triggered AF. Okay, and all of a sudden you revert back to like a childhood like tantrum, or your fight or flight comes on, or you feel very unsafe. And then you leave the function, you go home, and you're like, what was that? Like, why did I act like that? That's because you're jumping back to that childhood of yours, like that PTSD that's trapped in your body and that trauma. And it's your inner child coming up and saying, oh, I've seen this. I know how to handle this. This is how we've always handled it. And then like your conscious brain is like, why did I do that? And it's because they're taking over. It's that behavioral pattern, that cycle, that pattern, right? Okay. Maybe I would be a peacekeeper more so than a people pleaser. I like that. Dang girl, that explains why I always feel that. Yeah, it's just, we have these memories. They're attached to the emotions. And if we didn't process the emotions, like, nobody's fault, because like, we're doing the best we can with what we had. But if you're not processing those emotions, they're intertwined with the memories. So you get around family members and then it zaps you back in the emotion that you never processed. And then it just spirals down. And so that's why it's important to go back and heal them from these energetic timestamps and do inner child healing. Like, that's the basis of like all of my client work, is before we do anything, we need to go back in there and look at what's going on or what has not been healed yet, because that is the root of almost everything. Oh, hopefully my dogs don't start barking. Okay. So again, don't take this as, when I'm talking about the chakras and what comes up, as this is a definitive thing, because everybody's chakra system is different. This is just like a correlation that I found working with a lot of people and with myself, right? It's easier to pinpoint, like if there's something going on in your root chakra, crown chakra, third eye chakra, like these are the things that are generally off when you're experiencing them. Working your way back. Not everybody has gotten to the level of inner child healing yet, because you have to heal your conscious adult mind before you can get back in your subconscious. So if you're watching this right now and you're like, dang, I should have been doing this, everybody does it in their own time. Okay, so if you're watching this is a good indicator it's time for you, or maybe you've already been doing it. But no judgment if you haven't, because it works in onion layers like that, okay? When you learn to read your chakras at this level, where you can pinpoint where things are off, it takes your healing journey to like this level that I cannot even explain. And it helps you read other people. Not just like if you're an energy healer. If you're an energy healer, that's great and you're helping people. But like your day-to-day interactions with people, you're able to like pinpoint very specifically like where something is off, and like what they're going through, and like the trauma that they've been through. Like you start picking up on like energetic signatures within people, and it helps you have more compassion, like understanding, like hold boundaries, don't let people treat you any type of way, but having compassion and like being able to look through those lenses of like, oh, okay, I see what's going on there, brings you a lot more peace. Okay. Any questions before I start getting into the chakras? And then we're going to do some like energy releasing, like as we're talking to, in betwixt the chakras. Okay. Is there a way to process it without being around family? Yes. We're going to talk about that after I get done with the chakras on an activity that we can do together. Okay. Or that you can do on your own time. My parents said I was greater than sliced bread, but I'm an empath, people pleaser. Stop now. That's actually the opposite form of people pleasing. It's the other side of the coin of not feeling like you're good enough. But then the opposite side of that coin is like having like way too high expectations of yourself. Like parents always telling you like, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best, but not giving you enough. Like, not saying that's not great, because like we love that. But like the expectations to like maintain up here 24/7, that can be just as bad as like not having good self-worth. Okay, I'm ready for clearing and cleansing. Okay, yay. All right, here we go. So we're going to start with our Earth Star Chakra. So your Earth Star Chakra, for those of you who are new to that, is located 12 inches below your feet, and it connects you into the heart of Mother Gaia. It goes deeper than your root chakra. And so our Earth Star Chakra is our sense of belonging. It's over us feeling like we're at home. So when your Earth Star Chakra is off, you feel not connected to the human experience. You feel like, what the heck am I doing here? This is not fun. Okay, it is like, it makes your spiritual gifts and your life purpose, it muddles it. And so you're just like, I don't know why I signed up to come here, right? Like if you're a starseed and you're a light worker, empath, and you have like the understanding of like, this is not the only place that you've incarnated, right? And we're connected into our multi-dimensionality. Even though you know that sometimes you're like, I don't want to be here. But when you have a balanced Earth Star Chakra, you're like, okay, I'm here for a very specific reason. Even if life's been a little tough, okay? Maybe I'm meant to help people with those things that I've been through. But when it's balanced, you feel like, okay, there are certain things that I can experience here on this earth plane. Like maybe it's riding a roller coaster, or swimming with dolphins, or having a dog, or having your child. Like there's other planetary systems and dimensions that you're not going to experience what you get here. And I know we've all heard like school, or Earth School is like for the people who are like been incarnating and awake for a really long time, because it's hard. It's very dense being here. And so when we are not connected into our Earth Star Chakra, it makes us want to like exit and not be connected into Mother Gaia. It also makes you feel like you're not connected to nature or the animals or the elements. You're just like, I'm out of here. And you're like way too up in your upper chakras. You're like, I'm just going to coast this experience until I'm done. But then you're not really getting the experience and lessons that you signed up for, right? So working with your Earth Star Chakra, very important. So for the chakra, we have black kyanite here. And so every time we go through a chakra here, and the main thing is to show you what this looks like being off. Like we could talk about what a balanced one looks like, but I think it's more pertinent like for this specifically if we talk about the things like, oh, this is what it feels like when it's off. And so you have some like direction to look at, to point at. Okay, so we are going to all take a big, if you can, a big grounding breath into our nose, and a clearing breath out through our mouth. And the affirmation we're going to say is, I release these energies that no longer serve me. I release these energies that no longer serve me. I release these energies that no longer serve me. Hey, Bee. Okay. Has anybody feeling like your Earth Star Chakra has been off? Did any of that resonate with you? You can let me know here in the chat, or you can let me know on YouTube in the comments down there. All right. So we're going to move on to our root chakra. I'm going to put my root chakra. What the heck? Oh, there we go. All right. So our root chakra is over trust. Oh, thank you for sharing the live. All right. I texted you about my throat chakra like 5 minutes ago. Okay. We'll get to the throat chakra part in a second here. All right, so our root chakra is over trust. If you have an imbalance in this chakra, hey Carrie, if you have an imbalance in this chakra, look at this, the root chakra butterfly. This is over safety and security. So you feel unstable in your reality, maybe like in your home space as well, or in your relationships. It's like just feeling very shaky, like not having a strong foundation. With your finances, our root chakra has a lot to do with our money mindset and like lack mentality. So root chakra and sacral chakra have to do with those. Root chakra is not having enough. Like you just don't have enough to like pay your bills or, you know, stay afloat. Like it's like we're always scraping by every single month, right? Okay. Hello. Nightmares. When we are having a unstable reality, our subconscious a lot of times, like through dreams, tries to work out what's going on this plane to like an extreme level in our dreams. And it's almost like our higher self and our guide team will like put us through things up there in the astral to see how we're going to handle it here, and so we can like actively work that out. And so I have been through periods where I've been having like visceral nightmares and it will be because I don't feel like very secure in my outer reality. Okay, you might be feeling overwhelmed, might be feeling spacey, like you're just very ungrounded, controlling things out of fear. This can be controlling like people, this can be controlling experiences, this can be controlling your whole life or like the outcomes of things. Very like masculine energy, because like divine feminine energy is like very flow and trusting the universe and divine timing and the divine plan, right? But when our root chakra is off, it's like, let me hustle and grind and struggle to either prove it to myself, or some of us are very like in our masculine energy and it works. It's exhausting, but it works. Like I've been in my masculine energy too much in my life and it's like having to like walk through jello to get anything like to work. And if you're a very focused and motivated person, you can make it work, but it's tiring. So controlling life, controlling ourselves is a trauma fear response, right? Okay, social anxiety. This is a big one with your root chakra when it's off. Hello, hey everybody, I see everybody in here. Okay, so social anxiety. So I'm gonna talk about this for a minute. That is the best explanation of that. Oh, thank you. So when you are an empath and you have experienced trauma in childhood and you do not feel safe, right? There's a multitude of reasons for that. What you do is, and some people are not born empaths, some people are like created into empaths because you're picking up on the negative frequencies in a room. Like that person might be unsafe, that person might be unsafe, person might be unsafe. You're picking up on like what's scary in the room. Like even if you're not like consciously doing it, you're like, let me find all the negative vibes in here so that way I know what's going on, right? But when we do that, my pug's snoring in the background so loudly, just so you know. But when we do that, we get more of it. Like we focus on the negative, we get more negative. And it's nobody's fault because it's a trauma response, but some people don't do that. Like if you have a healed root chakra, you can go into a store and focus on the joy and positivity and abundance and people smiling and happy, right? But if you're in fight or flight mode and trying like survival mode, you're like, let me find all the negative stuff in here so like I know whom to stay away from and what to stay away from. But that kicks on our central nervous system, which creates social anxiety. It makes you feel very overwhelmed. And your antenna is too open. Like it causes your crown chakra and your third eye chakra to like be so wide open and picking up on everybody's thoughts, feelings, and emotions in the room. And then you're processing it through your body like it's yours because your central nervous system is up. And so you're just like, right? Hello. Yes, and nobody around me in real life feels safe. Yes, this is where we have to go back and parent the inner children on these things because consciously you are safe. Like if we go into like CVS, okay, or like Walgreens, generally you're safe in there, right? But your inner child is telling you different. Your inner child is saying, I don't know them, I don't know them, I don't know them. They could potentially hurt us. This is scary, right? And like kicking all that stuff up. But consciously, like you don't know why you're upset. inner child. And so we have to create these safe spaces for them within, right? All right. How can you tell the difference between that and it just being autism? There's a lot of different things that can come into play as well. Like this is, and I'm not going to say this is your cure-all for certain things like neurological things, right? But even with like autism or ADHD, because we have somebody here that experiences those, inner child healing, like creating those safe spaces has helped me traverse so much of that. Like so much of that. Like the social anxiety that I had horrible social anxiety. But like creating those safe spaces and teaching them like, hey, it's really okay. Like, and we're not meant to connect with everybody. Like on that autism ADHD level, like we're not meant to vibe with everybody and be on the same wavelength, and that's okay too. But that's like a whole different chat. Like, I'm not saying you need to heal autism. You don't need to necessarily heal ADHD, because I believe those are superpowers that we hold within, and sometimes we see them as a curse when they're actually like an incredible blessing. But there's ways that we can create like different realities for our inner children to like thrive in those things, if that makes sense. All right. So for our root chakra, we have some moonkite jasper here. So all of those things, and remember, if you're picking up on these things and you're saying, oh, that's me when I'm reading these things out, make note of that, or come back to this video on YouTube so you can go back and talk to your inner children about it. And we're going to talk more about that at the end. But if you heard me say like, oh, I have, this, or maybe you were experiencing this, mental note. Okay. So we are going to take a big grounding breath in through our nose and breathe out through our mouth. And a big grounding breath in through our nose and a clearing breath out through our mouth. And the affirmation we're going to say is, I am releasing those energies that no longer serve me. I am releasing those energies that are no longer serving me. I am releasing those energies that are no longer serving me. Oh, thank you for sharing the live. Thank you. All right. Now we're going to talk about our sacral chakra. So our sacral chakra is over our emotions and relationships. And so if we're having an imbalance here, it's also over our creativity. So maybe you're not feeling like passionate about the things that you were in the past. Like you have things that you're like, I know this makes me really happy and brings me a lot of joy and peace and serenity and like fills up my cup, but you're not having like the motivation or drive to do them. You're just like, meh, right? Abandonment with self and others. So we're very worried about like our friendships or our romantic relationships, or, like coworkers, like talking about us behind our back or something, right? Oh, that was me all last week. Just abandoning self as well. So you might have some projects that you want to get started, or you want to make a career change, or you want to do some big like life-altering thing, but you're too afraid to do it because you're afraid that you won't follow through. I've done a lot of chats on procrastination, and that it's not always just as being lazy. Sometimes it's we never had people showing up for us in our life. Like abandonment was a huge wound for me in my childhood. And so I would not do things because I was like, I'm not going to show up for me. I'm not going to follow through. And so when we talk about abandonment, it's not just with other people. It's us being there for us. Okay. Anxious avoidant attachment styles. So this is where like poor communication comes in sometimes, like speaking to one another, and it might be because you're afraid of communication or conflict, right? We don't know how to handle that. And so you can either push people away or like cling on to people during conflict times, right? Codependency is also coming from our sacral chakra. Interpersonal relationships. So this is where we're having a lot of conflicts with friends, family members, just different people in our life, co-workers, bosses. Abundance. This is where we're talking about money mindset again, where the root chakra is not having enough. The sacral chakra is just having enough. It's like, okay, I have enough to like pay all my stuff, but then I don't really have enough like left over, like roll over, right? unprocessed traumas. So, or unprocessed emotions, I'm sorry, or traumas. Unprocessed emotions. So when we as children do not have a safe space or taught how to process those things, a lot of them get trapped in our sacral chakra and root chakra. And so if we do that, it becomes crystalline and hardened in our body, and then it becomes tension, pain, anxiety, depression. It makes you very tense. It makes you always be in fight or flight. And those things like layer on top of each other. It gets denser and denser and denser and denser. And that's when life feels like really mucky and we don't have good clarity, and it feels just like so hard. And we don't always like correlate that those things during childhood that we never processed are really like rolling over and creating this whole reality that we're living. This is why inner child healing is so important, because that stuff that happened to you when you're like 5, 12, 9 years old, like if they're still sitting in that energetic time space, they're the ones that are actually creating your reality right now, because you're pulling from those experiences. Like most of the time when we're thinking about things, we're pulling energy from the past to predict future, right? And so if we have these behavioral patterns and triggers that are unresolved, it just keeps us in the cycle. And so I know it's not always fun processing our emotions, and we're not always taught how to do that. But when we take the time to sit with them, like it's not always a fun feeling. Inner child healing is a little bit different, because we can kind of like disconnect from it a little bit, because sometimes it's easier to help somebody else than it is yourself, like just be honest. And so when we come back in as the higher self and we help the 5-year-old, the 9-year-old, the 12-year-old, and we say, hey, I know all that happened and I'm so sorry, and I'm going to help you process through it, and we're going to feel it in my body. We're going to feel angry, and we're going to feel sad, and we're going to feel frustrated, and we're going to feel upset, and that's okay. And when we get done with that, I am going to hold your hands, and then we'll go do something else. Like when we detach from it a little bit, and you still got to feel it. I'm not saying don't process them, because you have to feel it. We are energy in motion, emotions. When you don't feel them, disease, dis-ease, whether that's anxiety, depression, pain, whatever that is, it's unprocessed emotions. Most of the time. I'm not going to say that's everything, but most of the time. It's just compacts and compacts and compacts and compacts, and then comes out in some other type of way that doesn't always seem like it's correlated. Okay. So, pain, disease, people-pleasing, fear of abandonment. So, people-pleasing, we're going to talk about that a little bit later in a different chakra. People-pleasing for your sacral chakra can come out of, if I don't do what others expect of me, they're going to leave me. Like if I don't say the right thing, if I don't act the right way, if I don't make these choices, then everybody's going to abandon me. So that's one form of people pleasing. We're going to talk about a different one. Oh, hello, Nicole Porter. Oh, I think you were in here the other day. My last name's Porter too. So is anybody dealing with some of those things? Make sure and make a mental note. And for our sacral chakra, and don't worry, at the end I'm going to talk about how we work through these things. So for our sacral chakra, we're going to work with some Himalayan salt here. Oh, yes to all of it. Okay. So we are going to take a big grounding breath in through our nose, and a clearing breath out through our mouth. We're going to take a big grounding breath in through our nose, and a clearing breath out through our mouth. And we're going to say, I release those energies that no longer serve me. I release those energies that no longer serve me. I release those energies that no longer serve me. Oh. For our solar plexus. Our solar plexus is our action chakra. And so and it also holds a lot of our like personal energy. And so when we have an imbalance there, we feel very fatigued. We're like tired all the time. And that is also if we have root chakra imbalances because our central nervous system's like kicked on. And that can be very exhausting. But we're just like not having the motivation to like get up and go do the thing, even though we need to, or we know it'd be like some good self-care or self-love. It's just like we don't have like the personal power to like get moving, right? Lack of motivation, feeling unworthy, low self-confidence, self-esteem, fear of rejection, like you're afraid to kind of like put yourself out there or make new friends or get out and date because we're having that what are they going to think about me, what if they say no, and we're not looking through the lens of like, oh, maybe that's not aligned for me, maybe that person's not for me, maybe it's a universal blessing that person or that thing did not work out. Right? We're seeing it as like a reflection upon our persona, or like our what we're worth, right? Or our value. We can be very argumentative when this is off. Like we're always feeling like people are out to get us, or we're not listening to other people's like viewpoints. We're like, this is an imbalance of like, we're right and we don't want to hear anything else. This can be with our kids too sometimes. Overly competitive. Like and you can be competitive with self, not just with other people. Like this can be like, I have to prove to myself my worth, or it can be with other people. Procrastination. We talked about there's so many different reasons for procrastination. Can y'all hear me? I think my ear pod's disconnected. Can y'all let me know if you can hear me? Or give me like a yes, I can hear you. If not, I may have to. Okay, you can hear me. Okay. Okay, thank you. It just like connected up there and I was like, oh no. Thank you. There's so many different reasons why we procrastinate. Like it's not just because of us being lazy. Like it's this whole thing that I just said. And most of the time it comes from childhood. It can be people pleasing, like or not people pleasing, perfectionism, right? There's so many different reasons. If you want to watch a procrastination workshop, I have one on my website and there's a link in my bio, or you can look down in the comments here on YouTube and I go like real in depth on that. And for solar plexus healing, and look at the beautiful solar plexus flowers here. Okay, so this is us just not being inspired. There's a need for divine masculine energy and divine feminine energy. There's the inspired action, the flow, and when we are not taking that inspired action, it's just like, okay, the universe will take care of it. Yeah, we're a co-creator with the universe. So like there's something to be said for like surrendering and trusting and letting go, but we can't just like not do anything or take the action, right? Because we are creating this experience. So there has to be like a balance between both of them. So if you're kind of swinging too hard the other way, it's like, well, I'll just throw it up in the air and then it'll take care of itself. There's a time and place for that. But this is when we're not taking any inspired action, right? And we can feel very depressed coming from our solar plexus as well, because it's like we can't figure out the puzzle pieces of like what we need to be doing or what we should be doing, and then that kind of throws us off track. This is where we get more into like the procrastination thing of like taking it one day at a time and doing something for 10 minutes that's productive. But we won't get too deep into that. Okay, so is anybody dealing with any of these things coming up? And for our solar plexus, we're going to be working with citrine here. So we're going to take a big breath in through our nose and breathe out through our mouth. We're going to take a big breath in through our nose and breathe out through our mouth. And the affirmation that we're going to say is, I am releasing those energies that are no longer serving me. I am releasing those energies that are no longer serving me. I am releasing those energies that are no longer serving me. Okay. I'm going to pause the live for like 2 seconds because it does this weird thing with the filter, so I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, there we go. You see what I'm saying? It looks like I'm on the surface of the sun. So now we're going to talk about our heart chakra. So our heart chakra is our love chakra, the house of our, it also has to do with relationships and a little different of a lens. And that's what I meant by like some of these chakras blend with other ones. Like people pleasing can come from different chakras, but it's like different lenses that you're looking through with each of those chakras. Okay. So unable to forgive self for past experiences. Like, oh, I should have said this. Oh, I should have done that. Maybe this could have been different if that, right? So that's unable to forgive like things like from your younger years, right? Hello, hey, which is very detrimental. Very, very detrimental. I used to be so incredibly like hard on myself and like always talking down to myself and like berating myself like you should blah, blah, blah. What I didn't realize is like how deeply that was hurting my inner children, because I was doing a generational trauma thing of exactly what my parents had done to me or my grandparents had done to me or other people in my life. I was talking to my younger children just like I had been spoken to. And so when that's why inner child healing is so important, because you start to see them as their own consciousness forms, because they are. Like if you're experiencing any of these things and you're talking down to them, you're really talking down to like that 5-year-old, 9-year-old, 12-year-old self within yourself when you're being very difficult and hard on yourself and judgmental. So when we start thinking about it in those terms, it really puts a different lens on things. Okay. We carry a lot of grief here. So for like past loved ones, if we're having a hard time, and not saying that won't ever go away, because you know we all grieve people that have passed on to the other side, shifted on to the other side. But sometimes it's a little bit harder to find peace within that when we're having like that heavy heart chakra. Not sure what you desire. So this is like, oh, hold on. Let me restart my music here. Okay, this is not knowing what we want in life. This is like, I don't know. Like sometimes like, no offense or anything, sometimes I talk to clients and I'm like, well, what do you want your life to look like? And they're like, I don't know. And like sometimes we don't, because we're just experiencing a lot of trauma or just like very unsure about things. But if we don't have like goals that we're working on, or like even the emotions that we want to feel in life, because at the end of the day, it's all about like the emotions that we want to feel. Like it doesn't matter about the manifestations, like, to be honest with you. That's another chat. Oh, have a good night. Thank you for joining. But like what do we want to feel? What do we want to experience? Right? Like life is about growth. And so we have to have like little challenges along the way to like bigger goals too, to like keep us motivated, keep us moving, right? People pleasing, putting others' happiness first. So we talked about people pleasing from the sacral chakra. This is the heart chakra lens. This is, I do everything for everybody else and make sure everybody's good before my own wants and needs and desires. That really, like when you're not pouring back into your own cup and doing self-love and self-care, you start to see that reflected outside of you in your reality. Like everything out here is projection of in here. And so when we're putting people over us, even kids, partners, whomever, right? Then like things start getting real shaky outside of us. When we start pouring in, everything starts getting better and starts amplifying. And so I know a lot of times people are like, well, I can't do that because of this, and this. And I tell people that is literally the most important thing. Like literally the most important thing that you can do for yourself and for everybody in your life. And I'm so sorry about that, Linda. I'm sending you a big hug. I know that's tough. And that's where that heavy heart comes in. But that is the most important thing, because you will see that reflected either negatively or positively outside of you every single time. And sometimes we don't always correlate that, where it's like, okay, well, if I stop showing up for people in my life, everything will crumble and collapse. But when you start focusing on yourself, everything starts amplifying, getting better. It's just that little void space that we get in that like seems like everything is going to fall underneath us. Okay, you start to isolate and you feel like nobody understands you. Like you keep talking to people and it's just, you know, going over their head, or they're not taking the time to understand what you're saying or who you are at a deep core level. Or like maybe you haven't found your soul tribe yet. right? And so the people that you're in your experience just you don't seem like to have very deep attachment to them. You can feel jealous, possessive, defensive, like guarding your heart space, walls up, over attachment to people or things. That's another form of codependency, where we're like, if you're not in my life, or this thing's not in my life, then I can't feel love, joy, peace, serenity, happiness, bliss. That's where that codependency comes in, because those are things that you got to feel in here regardless. Otherwise, that codependency starts to come out. So for our heart chakra, we have got some peach adventurine here. So we're going to take a big grounding breath in through our nose. And a grounding breath out through our mouth. Big grounding breath in through our nose. And a clearing breath out through our mouth. And we're going to say, I release those energies that no longer serve me. I release those energies that no longer serve me. I release those energies that no longer serve me. So we're going to our throat chakra, which is over communication. So a lot of times people just think that's like vocalized communication, but the throat chakra actually goes like way deeper and like over more like a vast arena of things. So fear of expressing self. This can be the clothes that you want to wear, or the hair that you want to have, like how you want to like outwardly express yourself, like on the physical plane, right? But this can also be like you afraid to use your voice, like you afraid to speak up in meetings, or ask for that raise, or tell somebody how you really feel, right? Or you're afraid to express your ideas. Like you're like, oh, people are gonna say, you know, that's dumb, or like it's way outside the box, and you're like, oh, they're not gonna get it. Right? You can have muddled truths and beliefs, like not really understanding like how you're trying to convey things, or like what you even want to convey, or you're taking on other people's like opinions and letting it kind of muddle over what you think about things. Letting people sway you. Like, I'm not saying not to listen to other people's opinions, because that's important, right? Because it, you know, makes us multidimensional. But then there's something to be said with like, you don't have your own clear opinions and thoughts on things or feelings on things, because you're trying to like curl tail to what everybody else is like deciding. You feel like nobody listens to you, even when you are speaking up. People are like, whatever. You don't have very clear decision making. Like, we're always worried about, is this the wrong decision? Is this the right decision? There comes a time where you have to be very like self-assured, and like, I'm gonna timeline shift if I need to. Like, I'll figure it out. Because life isn't really about right or wrong, it's about experiences. And when you detach from that and you're just like, I'll figure it out, forward movement is forward movement, and living in indecisive land and in the void space is way worse than making a decision that you may have to pivot. Like, it puts your life on pause. That makes sense. Okay, my biggest chakra I need to work on. That was one of mine. That was like my biggest block. And when I say block, it was just like trapped energy, right? Of like not being able to like vocalize who I am or what I want, or my thoughts and values and beliefs. And then I built like masking comes a lot through your throat chakra. Like, if that's something that you're doing around people, throat chakra. Hearing your intuition. So we're going to talk about two different types of like hearing, but this one specifically is hearing your own internal voice and your compass system, your guidance, right? Hello. You're not able to hear those nudges, those internal like, hey, maybe you should go do this. Hey, maybe you should go do that. Or like, oh, this feels really good in my body. Like, we all know that, like, when we get that, like, oh, this feels really good. Like, I should go do this. Or when something says like, please don't do that. Like, that is coming from like your throat chakra area. Impatient. If we're not able to like find peace in the now moment, or we're like being very like, we gotta have it like right this second. That comes from throat chakra. And being gossipy, talking about people, right? Because when we're not very like self-assured in our like self-image and who we are, sometimes we'll do that to make us feel better about ourselves. So is anybody experiencing any of those right now? And for our throat chakra, we're going to be working with this peacock ore, all about self-expression. And we're going to take a big grounding breath in through our nose and breathe out through our mouth, clearing breath. We're going to take a big grounding breath in through our nose, big clearing breath out through our mouth. As we say, I'm releasing those energies that are no longer serving me. I am releasing those energies that are no longer serving me. I am releasing those energies that are no longer serving me. Okay, and remember, while we're talking about these chakras, we're trying to pinpoint, okay, this is what I'm going through. I'm currently experiencing one of these. Where does that originate? Where is the first time that I can remember that? And then we'll do an activity here at the end to help pinpoint them. But where did that come from? Most of the time it's not an adult experience, it is a childhood experience. A great one to hear right before choir practice. Oh, nice. We do some clearing in there beforehand. Okay, so our third eye chakra, this is over clarity. This is where if we're experiencing self-limiting beliefs, like I'm not good enough, I'm not confident, I don't have the right skill set, you know, all these things. That is housed in our third eye chakra. It's how we see ourselves and how we think other people see us. Like a lot of times we have projections of what we think others are like viewing us as. Like we'll walk around in public and think like, oh, this person's looking at me, this person's thinking about me, you know, all these things. Just how you're like, all the people in here are very self-aware people, right? And you're always like self-analyzing. Most people are doing that too. They don't care what you got going on. And I'm not saying that's not everybody, because we've all had like negative experiences with people, but most of the time people are doing the exact same thing you're doing with like analyzing. Like, what am I talking correctly? Is my body posture okay? You know, all these things that like run in our minds. Other people are doing that too. You lost your mojo or your magic. Like you just feel very disconnected. We're not seeing synchronicities. We're not seeing confirmations. Life just feels like off. We're not feeling like that like oomph in life, right? What are some other examples? I think everybody knows what that is. Like when you're just not feeling it, just not connected in, not seeing opportunities. So your third eye chakra has a lot to do with timeline shifting and like seeing your most optimal timelines and the best decisions that you can make. And so if you're coming through a lens of like self-limiting beliefs, or you're like weighing your anxiety about like future things, right, and like pulling from past experiences, you can't see experiences and opportunities that come your way because you're like so focused on like the future or the past that we're just like pulling from what we've seen before. And so when new things come your way, you're just like, it's not even on your radar. That's what like Eckhart Tolle talks about, like be in the now, be present. Because when you do that, you detach from those things. You detach from the past, you detach from the present, because they're not even real. And when we talk about like not real, like when we talk about the inner child healing, right? Those are real experiences, those really happened. Those are real memories, but they're not happening right now. That's when we're talking about healing our inner children and like teaching them like, hey, I know that happened and I love you and I'm going to help you through it, but that's not happening right this second. And when we project that up into my mind as anxiety or trauma or fear, it makes it happen in the future because that's what we're focusing on. But when we're very in the present moment and detached from those things, now we have the ether, like the etheric field open to us, where like new opportunities and new experiences can come in because we're not attached to the past or present. Okay, unfocused, having trouble concentrating, feel very foggy, hearing our higher self and our guides. So there's our intuition. It's all you. I want to say that it's all different perception lens, like all our guides and higher self and like all these things, right? Your intuition, the thing that's giving you those nudges, right, is a little bit different than your like higher self and your guides. It's a different plane, if that makes sense. And so when we're having a imbalance here, it's like that higher plane of existence with the higher self and the guides, we can't hear them. It's like they've disappeared. And we're like, I feel like they've checked out. Sometimes they will do that though, because they don't want you to be codependent on them. They want you to use your intuition and figure it out. And so I've had that happen in my journey before, where I'm like, where did y'all go? So for our third eye chakra, we're going to use some blue apatite here. And we're going to take a big breath in through our nose, big grounding breath. And we're going to take a clearing breath out through our mouth. Big grounding breath in through our nose. Clearing breath out through our mouth. And the affirmation we'll say is, I am releasing all those energies that are no longer serving me. I am releasing all of those energies that are no longer serving me. I am releasing all of those energies that are no longer serving me. I call those training sessions. Yep. It's like training sessions to like move to the new higher self version. I was getting a message about how important it is to heal fear from our childhood. It can dysregulate. Yes. So now we're going to be talking about our crown chakra. So our crown chakra is connection. So this is where we're talking about different things or different lenses and different chakras. So we can also have an abandonment fear in our crown chakra of the universe abandoning us. Your nervous system can cause physical pain and disease. Yep. We talked that about in depth earlier. So this is where we think the universe is like checked out, right? Like you out here on your own. Like we gotta make this happen. Like there is no bigger, what's the word I'm looking for? Bigger, substance isn't the right word, but like something above us, right? That's leading and guiding us and taking care of us. That's really you. Like if we're gonna be just like really honest about it, there's always like another version of you that goes up and up and up and up and up all the way back to source, right? And like all of us are reflections of one another. Mother Gaia, nature, like everything is a reflection of you. But when your crown chakra is off, you're like, I just got me and that's it. Like ain't nobody giving me any help. But then we have all these guides and higher selves and all these different perspective forms of us, friends, soul tribes, family, all these things. But when it's off, we just feel like it's us. You can be, if you have an imbalance, you can be very closed-minded, very cynical, like just not willing to listen to other people's opinions or not listening to the guidance of other people. Like when people are trying to give you very solid advice and you're like, I don't want to hear that. That might be from your higher self too. Like I've gone through like periods where like my higher self is trying to tell me something and I'm like, talk the hand because I ain't listening. Right. But it's very solid advice. Or your friend's trying to tell you something and you're just like, I got it. Right, but they're trying to help you. It's the universe trying to help you. It's the universe trying to talk through other people to you. It's not always through people either. Sometimes it's movies, sometimes it's music, sometimes it's nature. Like the universe is always trying to reflect and talk back to you. Disconnected from the 3D plane. Like sometimes we'll be like so up in our upper chakras. That's where we get like, when we're talking about the Earth Star chakra, where we're just like checked out. Right? That doesn't work very well because we still are like we're a multi-dimensional being that's like, a light being, source being, but we're also living a human experience. And when you're not checked in, things get really chaotic and slippery in your human life. You're just like we still have taxes to pay. You still need to put like air in your tires. Okay, you need to take care of your dogs or your pets, your fur babies, right? Your children. And so that's why like grounding is so important, because you can really like, I don't want to say like disassociate because I don't want to get into that like, right, discernment. But it's almost like you're living above your reality. And that does not make for like a happy experience. Because there's like real beauty. That's where we're Earth Star chakra grounding in. There's real beauty. Like look at this beautiful butterfly, this beautiful plant, right? And we're all here together experiencing this. Like we wouldn't be doing this right now if we weren't together. Okay. The inability to let go and surrender. When we talked about like the solar plexus and inspired action, this is where the divine feminine energy comes in and is like, okay, I'm going to show up and I'm going to do the things that I need to do. But then there's a level where like it hits a precipice point and we're like doing too much and we're trying to control everything. And this is like, no, I'm doing the work, I'm showing up, and now I got to let it go. Because that's receiving mode. That's how we get stuff from the universe. Is like half of it is receiving mode. Like half action, half receiving, being in flow, and just be like, okay, well, I don't need to know how everything is going to turn out because then it would be very boring. Like sometimes you just got to be like, I've done it. I've done what I'm supposed to do. Here you go. Okay. And again, out here alone, like feeling like you don't have support when you're actually like connected to everyone and everything. So for our crown chakra, we are going to use obsidian. So we are going to take a big grounding breath in through our nose and a clearing breath out through our mouth. And we're going to take a big grounding breath in through our nose and a clearing breath out through our mouth. And the affirmation we're going to say is, I am releasing all of those energies that are no longer serving me. I am releasing all of those energies that are no longer serving me. I am releasing all of those energies that are no longer serving me. Okay, so now we're going to get into the fun stuff here. We're going to talk, not that that wasn't fun, but it was a lot. Some heavy energy. And I know I haven't been answering questions as much in the comments as I usually do, but I wanted to make sure I got through everything. So I'll leave some time and space for that at the end if anybody has anything. So we're going to talk about how to help our inner children heal through these things. So I want you to think about something that we talked about, like something that you're really, is like challenging you right now, or, a lesson or a cycle that you're working through. Like maybe it's people pleasing, maybe it's, with your finances or confidence or communication, right? And we're going to keep that present in our minds. And let me get this pulse on Chakra. Hold on 1 second. So I don't burn my fingertips. Okay. So the best thing that I can say is when you are healing your inner child, like when I'm talking to clients, sometimes they're like, I can't hear my inner child. When you are in a room full of people, like 20 people, and they're all trying to talk to you at one time, can't hear what they're saying. It's very overwhelming and confusing. So I want you to envision that you have, you don't have to close your eyes or anything, but I want you to envision that you have a 5-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 12-year-old in front of you. They all have their own experiences and they have their own memories, and they need different types of support, and they need different types of communication. Like you're not going to help maybe like a 15-year-old heal the same way you would a 4-year-old that maybe even experienced the exact same thing. Vastly different lives, right? Even if it's the same person. And so when we're talking to an inner child, it's like we're trying to talk to all of them the exact same way. And they all have their own like things that they need help and healing with. And so this is where our chakras come into play, and finding an inner child to talk to and like point our direction and energy at. So when we're thinking about these things, so take that thing in your mind and ask yourself, what is the first memory I have with that? Like how far back can I go? And I'm going to tell you something, when you find that memory, that might not be the furthest thing back. That might just be like you're conscious. Like you might find something at 15, but if you keep going back and doing this, you can go way far back. Like when I was working through like lack and abundance things, I could remember as far back as like 15. And then I started helping her heal, and then I went to 12, and then I went to 9, and then I went to 4, and like it's like that onion layer that we talk about, right? So we need to ask ourselves, how far can I go back with this? So what we can do is when we're in meditation, it doesn't have to be this long old process, okay? But we're in meditation, And we're going to take some big grounding breaths in, some clearing breaths out like we've done. And we're going to say, how old are you? And we're going to say it out loud. Because when we say it out loud and we wait for an internal response, sometimes it helps us differentiate between what's us and what's them. And we're going to say, how old are you? What is your name? What do you want to be called by? Through inner child healing with people, I have found that sometimes your name has trauma associated to it, like especially if you had a parent or an abuser like yell your name or like talk down to you, and so sometimes they want to go by a nickname or something like way out of left field like Coco or whatever, right? But then we're kind of giving them their own identity, and when we're talking to them like that, we're giving them a safe space, and we're saying, I see you in here, and I understand what you've been through, and I'm coming back in to be the parent and the coach and the friend that you needed. I am the higher self to you. And when you continuously go back in to help them heal, they open up more and more and more, and then they start helping you with the other inner children inside of you. Like, I have many different inner children who I have healing with because it's a journey. But the more you go back in and do these things, you feel so much more lighter energetically, and you, like, the inner children will start helping other inner children heal. And then you can take them on these like internal journeys and like pull them from those dark spaces, pull them into the light. And I'm going to say this over everyone's inner child right now, because this is so vitally important, especially if you've dealt with abandonment issues. Sometimes when I'm working with people, their inner children don't want to come up because they're scared if you heal them that they're going to disappear. Like, their timeline is going to collapse and then you'll forget about them forever. And I'm going to say over everybody's inner child right now, if you're listening to this, we are not coming in to abandon you. We are coming to pull you through the ethers into the new life. We are bringing you along on our journey of finding more peace and serenity and fun and magic. And I would love so very much for you to come with me, because our inner children, when you feel disconnected and like your magic is gone and you feel like just so bogged down, your inner children are the keepers of your whimsy magic. Like, they are so connected into different dimensions and planes and frequencies, and like unicorns and fairies and dragons and like all of the adult stressors, they're not attached to that. They are beyond that. That's like when we're around kids and like our vibration and frequency is just like so high because they're so fun and magical and whimsical. When you heal your inner children, you open up the floodgates to that. You are releasing them from all of this heavy, dense energy and just letting them free. You are liberating them. You are saying, you don't have to deal with that anymore. That is not your responsibility. That is not your task. I do not need you to take care of me. I'm an adult. I have the toolkit. I am the guardian. I am the protector. I got it. So that's when we're kind of like, when you get to where you're at right now, like listening to this with the inner child, you have pulled away enough from that experience that you're no longer living and breathing it. You can observe it and say, I'm so sorry that you dealt with that. And I love you unconditionally, no matter what it is that we did, said, or anything. I am going to come back in here and help you. And you make a commitment to them, it will change your life. And I cannot even express to you how, like, that was a pivotal point in my spiritual awakening journey where I have just skyrocketed into healing and changing my whole entire life. I was so stuck not knowing what to do or how to heal. And when I made a commitment to go back in and start healing my inner children, everything in my life completely changed. Everything. But it's because all of our behavioral patterns and triggers and all of those like trapped emotions are 99% coming from inner child. But we don't see that. We don't correlate that. And I'm not saying that over everybody, just like a general like thing. I didn't. But if you really think back, if you have communication issues, people pleasing, anger issues, mistrust in yourself, mistrust in others, where is that coming from? It is not coming from your adult conscious mind. It is coming from something that happened to your inner child, and they need you. They need you to help them release from that space, right? And we're going to talk about how to do that. But when you're helping your inner children heal in your especially like young inner children from like 3 into like 12, we can't just go straight in talking about trauma. Like, that's terrifying. Like, you don't have that type of relationship with them yet. Maybe you do. Like, I know some people in here are like already working with their inner children. You can't just go straight up to your child and be like, hey, let me talk about all this stuff. Okay. We have to do like fun activities with them first and be like, hey, I'm here and I love you and I'm ready to like work on this relationship and we're going to do it in your time. And I would love to like do some fun things with you first to like build this line of communication and trust and show you that I am actively going to come back in here, because especially if you had abandonment issues, like the main thing is that you coming back in there. Like, you can say all day like, oh, I'll get to that. That's not healing them. You have to like make a commitment to, whether it's once a week, every day, whatever it is for you, like actively seeking them out to help them release from those things. And once you release something like that on an inner child healing level, you will never be the same. You will viscerally feel that energy release from your body. Like, I've done it time and time again where it just like completely washes outside of me. And my inner child's like, okay. Like, I'm done with that. Now, do I have to work back to a younger age? Like, let's say I heal something like 8. Maybe I have to go back and now do it at like 6 or 3 or whatever. But it's like this huge knot that has been released. And now I'm looking at life differently. I'm perceiving and interacting with life differently because I'm not wearing those behavioral pattern lenses, those triggers that I once was, right? Okay, so here are some activities that we can do. So this is why I wanted to talk about chakras specifically, because when I'm talking to people about inner child healing, it's just still confusing sometimes. So if we take an issue that we're having, or a challenge that we're going, not an issue, a challenge that we're going through, and we pinpoint where it's coming from, we can do these specific activities with our younger children to help them release it. So now we know where they're all coming from. So for activities, we can do meditations specifically for specific chakras, not just like a whole body chakra system. Like, you got something off in your throat chakra, do something specifically for your throat chakra, because the practitioner on the other side of that video is like concentrating that energy specifically in your throat chakra or your root chakra. You hold your own intentions too. I want this thing, people pleasing, insecurity, confidence, self-esteem, whatever. Your intention is just as important as that practitioner. Like, you need to say, my 5-year-old is dealing with people pleasing. I'm going to take her or him in with me to this meditation, and we're going to work on releasing this together, right? I always use this example when I'm talking to these people. Have you ever said, or has somebody ever said to you, like, if you want to hang out, that's cool? Or if somebody says, I really want to hang out with you because I love your energy and I love spending time with you. Those are two very different frequencies and vibrations. When we intend to speak with and heal one of our inner children, they're more apt to like come up and heal with you, right? Okay, gonna make some dinner. Oh, love you too. Have a magical day. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so Reiki and light language for specific chakras as well. That's great. It's healing on like a frequency, energetic level. There's a difference between energy healing and like subconscious mind healing. Like, we're human beings with like a brain and like neural networking and like the subconscious, but then we're also like multi-dimensional light beings. And so you kind of got to tackle this in 2 different ways. Like, we need a balance between the human side and the frequency side, right? So Reiki and light language is good for frequency healing. Journal prompts, that's a good way to heal your subconscious like mind. Repetition of like kind of like affirmations. So let's say that we take a piece of paper. I keep on going back to people pleasing. I feel like there might be a thing in here right now with this group. People pleasing with our 8-year-olds. Like we say, how far back can I go? 8 years old. Okay, what was going on when I was 8 years old? Sometimes they'll show you a memory instead of talking to you. Like, I just want to say that if you're newer to inner child healing, sometimes they'll blip up a memory before you start hearing them. But the more you go in, you'll start to hear them more clearly. Anyway, so people pleasing. Okay, I know at 8, having issues with people pleasing. Let me find a journal prompt that has to do with that, and then I'm going to ask my 8-year-old to answer this journal prompt, and I'm going to work it out with them, right? So we see how we're pinpointing it very specifically, and then we release that with her or him, and now we can go back in at 12 years old and release that with her or him. You get, like, if you can pinpoint, it's a lot easier. Okay, mirror work. So this is where you're talking to yourself in the mirror. I always thought it was very cringy, and like, it's a beautiful thing. Okay, how I kind of worked around that was the cringiness part of it was to look at myself in the mirror and envision that I was talking to an inner child. And when you start to do that and you get really close up in the mirror, you can actually like energetically see the inner children in you. That takes practice, and it takes like time doing it. But like when I'm talking to like little me in the mirror, I can see her inside through my eyes. And I'm like talking to her and speaking to her, because again, sometimes it's easier helping somebody else than like helping self, especially if confidence and self-esteem is something you're still working through. So talk to your inner child or your inner teen or your young adult version of you in the mirror. Energy healers, like find an energy healer that works specifically on your subconscious. They're great, because sometimes you're too in your situation that you don't see how things are correlated. Like, you need to tell somebody, like, this is what's going on, and let them, like, connect the dots for you. Right? Because just like maybe there's some new information you learned here, because I'm a outside perspective of, like, what's going on. And so find you something that you can kind of, like, bounce off of. Okay. I love that I haven't done enough close-up mirror work lately. Oh, hey, Shannon, hey! Yeah, I was thinking about that when I was writing the list, and I was like, oh, I need to do some more of that. Okay, affirmations. So affirmations at bedtime, like listening to them, is when your subconscious is the most open to reception and suggestion. It goes straight back, like when you're in alpha or theta state. And so listening to you are affirmations is even more beneficial with your inner child. There's this lady on YouTube, her name is Jessica Heslop. I don't find like a whole lot of people that do you are affirmations, but she's great. And there's a couple others. When you're a child, people aren't saying, I am to you. They're saying you are. Like, you are this and you are that. So if you're going in with the intention to do inner child healing, you are affirmations are even better, because it's like a direct line back to them. Listening to dolphins and whales for my frequency healers. Dolphins and whales are very high vibrational frequency healers. Like, they will come through your system and like help with those energetic snags. And so if you have something, you know, like specifically that you're working on with your inner child, you can ask them to help you heal that and release from your body. You can listen to dolphin and whale sounds. You can do a dolphin and whale meditation. It's even better if you do it like in the bathtub or the shower, because the water amplifies. And so it can help you amplify bringing in something or releasing. So listening to them is great. Just attuned in IET for the second time. My guide showed me a little baby during the process. Oh, that's so sweet. Hey, Casey. Maybe that's one of your inner children. Okay. Binaural beats. A lot of people listen to binaural beats. That's like, again, like a type of frequency healing that's like breaking apart and busting up that crystalline energy. Like, when you haven't processed emotions, they harden and crystallize and make you feel tense and dense. And so binaural beats like go into your crystalline, like your meridian lines, and they help break apart all that energy. Chakra foods, like, go online. There's lots of videos on YouTube. If you're trying to work on your root chakra for 1 week or a day, like, look up the foods that help with that, and then eat it with the intention of it healing your chakra. Like, it's going to do it anyway, but if you put the intention behind it, even more beneficial. There's so many resources out there about chakras and foods and spices and teas and things like that. Wearing colors. Like, y'all see I dye my hair? I originally dyed my hair blue because I had such a closed throat chakra that I had a visual representation outside of myself, like my internal self, to remind me like, you need to be working on your throat chakra. And I have a lot of blue stuff around my home. But you can wear, like if you're working on your root chakra, put on a red shirt or a red bracelet, or maybe put on like makeup, or just like having the color red on you with the intention of, I'm wearing this to heal my chakra. Like it will do that for you. Like the color frequency, like our chakra system is a frequency. And so the more you have that thing around you, it's going to pick up on that vibration, that frequency, and help you heal. Plants and flowers. Okay. Flowers, like very bold, bright colored flowers, are so beneficial for your chakra system. And if you ask them to help you heal, they will. Like if you buy flowers at the supermarket and you put them in your home and you say, can you please help raise the vibration and frequency of my home space and help my chakra system? They will. That's why I always have like nature stuff going on in the background, because it's another layer. Watching content on topics. So this is another subconscious like brain one. Anytime that I feel that something is off in one of my chakras, I will research that topic like nobody's business. Like if I like when I was struggling with confidence and self-esteem and growing through that, I would watch video after video after video on confidence and self-esteem, because that's how your subconscious works, is repetition. Like you just keep inundating yourself with that, right? It's the same, it works backwards. Like if you had a parent that was talking down to you and negatively to you constantly, you got programmed. So to reprogram yourself, you got to repetitively do that. Okay, and it also frequency heals at the same time, because you are listening to different people with different perspectives, and your brain likes to like build that neural networking within of like, okay, well this correlates with this and this correlates with this, and all these people are making sense because everybody's saying the same thing, and here's a whole bunch of different resources. Like go on YouTube and watch 10 videos about self-confidence. I promise you, you will feel better afterwards. And you really have to monitor what you're watching and what you're listening, what you're absorbing, because you're like, the other day I was doing some work on my website, and I was listening to a podcast, like a comedy podcast. And you know when you're like listening to something but you're not like really listening to it, I just had it on the background because, you know, like the ADHD. My higher self was like, you need to listen to what they're talking about right now, because you know, usually they're just talking about comedy stuff, but they were going on like this huge mega rant about the state of the world and how awful it is, and like the apocalypse and all this stuff. And like, I'm not saying there's not, you know, things going on right now, but they're like, that's just going right into your subconscious. Is that the reality that you want? Is that what you want to be experiencing? And I was like, oh my gosh, I wasn't even like consciously aware that I was absorbing that. Right? Like, you gotta be mindful, because that's how you get programmed, and that's what you start to see outside of your outer reality, is what you're putting in. You watching a whole bunch of TikToks about people talking about being broke. If you have an inner child that has not been healed with their lack mentality, that is a direct line of communication back to them, and they're like, see, obviously that's true, because that person is dealing with that as well. That's evidence of our beliefs. So we got to override that with listening and absorbing other stuff that's more beneficial. Okay, the last one here is, before we do the last thing at the end, is having fun. So a lot of times people are like, well, how do I do shadow work with my kids, my inner kids? One of the greatest gifts that you can give to them, especially if you didn't have a good childhood or a fun childhood, is giving them that experience. You don't have to talk about trauma with them all day. You can do a fun activity with them, and that be just as healing. Like, that's honestly what they need. They need you to spend time with them. They need you to make them feel safe. They need you to show up, right? And talk to them and be there for them, and also do fun things with them. Like, maybe you at 5 years old, like, didn't have a safe space, and your parents never spent time with you, or you couldn't afford, you know, like a box of crayons, or like whatever that is. Like, give them that experience. And it not only heals them, it heals you, it puts you in a better mood. Right? if you can let your inner children use your body, I don't mean like take over your consciousness necessarily, right? But like for me, my 5-year-old loves coloring. So I'll say, okay, let's get out a coloring page, and then you pick the colors, and then you pick the page, and then we'll do it together. Because she didn't get a lot of those experiences when I was younger, because of all the other stuff going on. Right? And so is so incredibly healing. So ask your inner child when you're connecting to them, what do you like to do for fun? It might be something completely different than what you would say as adult. And even if you can't do it in your physical, like if they're like, let's go to Mars, I would love to go to, whatever, another planet. You can do it up here. It doesn't have to be a physical thing. If it can be a physical thing, that's even better, because it's like a deeper level of like physical release. But you can do anything you want up here. I have been every single day, I have been creating a safe space within myself in the morning times. And I take all my inner kids and some of my younger versions, like 22-year-old me and 25-year-old me, because trauma, I take them on field trips. Like, we go somewhere. I'm like, what do y'all want to do today? Like, let's experience some magic, some fun. So when I feel stressed and anxious during the day, I know it's probably one of y'all in here. And so I'll come back and say, hey, what's going on? Why are we upset? Why are we stressed? Why are we anxious? Let's go back in and find peace, right? And remember, we have our magical safe space in here, and we've been on a lot of fun adventures, and it's been very beneficial. Oh, have fun, Lucy. Have fun at choir practice. Hopefully the throat chakra talk helped. Okay. Gotta say, my inner child loves your sessions because it's like a class. School is my safe space. Oh, yay. This is like the magic school bus of healing. So, before we do our last thing here, we're gonna do we'll listen to a song together. I have found that when, music is very healing in and of itself, but sometimes I'll find love songs that when you listen to them, you could make it about a romantic thing, right? But I find these certain songs that it's almost like my higher self is talking to me, and then I'm talking to the younger versions. So we're doing like a lot of like circular healing. So when you listen to this with me, I want you to envision that your higher self, like in your preferred reality, is talking to you, and you're talking to the inner children. It's very, very healing. So let me get that set up. It's about 3 minutes long. Okay, and before we get into that, so if anybody wants to go deeper into inner child healing and trauma releasing or generational trauma releasing, right? Because it's one thing for you to go in and like talk to them, and it's another thing for you to viscerally meet them in the ethers. Like, this is something that you can do on your own, because I figured out how to do it on my own, right? It took me a little while. But if you want to do a session where I take you and you actually like meet with their consciousness, it's a little bit more like tangible, and sometimes it's easier with a guide the first time. I do offer sessions. There is a link in my bio or down here in the comments, and I also have a empowered inner child, my dog, an empowered inner child healing program, where if you have a lot of things that you're working through, it's a longer term support system. So you can find those on my website, and you can find them in the comments. Okay, here we go. All right, is everybody ready? Oh, I also have chakra balancing sessions as well. I forgot to mention that. So if you feel like you have a lot of disharmonized chakras right now, and you want me to go into each chakra and let you know what comes up and what it wants to say to you and what you can do to help it heal and kind of connect that web for you, if you got a lot of things going on, I have a couple sessions, appointments left for next week. And so you can find those in my website as well. All right, so we're all going to take a big breath in through our nose together and breathe out through our mouth. We're going to take a big breath in through our nose and breathe out through our mouth. And you can keep your eyes open, you can keep your eyes closed, you can listen. Just we're envisioning that our higher self is talking to us, and we are talking to all of our inner children while we are listening. Oh, there it is.
You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall, you tied a rope to me. You're blessing me every day. I was down with an illusion, like a sparrow with broken wings. But now I shine with your reflection on me. I'm getting back up on my feet. That you showed up was written in my palm. You are a statement, explode like a bomb. I get to push myself to victory. You make me winner. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. Yes, I'm the winner. Yes, I'm the winner. Am I awake or am I dreaming? So far gone, I won't look back. And when I move, there ain't no stopping me. You're pushing me up to the top. I saw the clouds looking angry, but then the sky reached my mind. And when I space out, I see the possibilities unfolding the way that I want. That you showed up was written in my palm. You are a statement, explode like a bomb. I get to push myself to victory. You make me winner. You cut me loose and set me free. You cut me loose. You make me win in every way. Win in every way. You show me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You show me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. Yes, I'm the winner. Cause I'm the winner. Cause I'm the winner. Yeah, yeah. Ooh. Yes, I'm the winner.
Okay. I'm gonna start by this other song really quick, and then I will talk about what came up. So when we were in the song there, I was going in to talk to everybody's inner children and throw like a party, a celebratory party for everybody showing up, because everybody's here. You were drawn in here for a reason. It was your inner child saying like, hey, I really need you to listen to this, right? This is something that we can do together. I know that you can help me heal. I love you. Them talking to you, right? And saying like, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to release this energy. And so I was doing like a celebratory dance party with everybody and asking them to help you like viscerally feel an energy release. And so you might be feeling that in the days to come, right, as well. So just a heads up that you might be feeling lighter energetically, or you might have some things like pop up that they're asking you to help them heal with. Sometimes that's memories, sometimes it's feelings. But now that we've taken kind of like a deeper dive into how this works, we can detach from it a little bit, because now we understand that we are their higher self, that we are the one that needs to create the safe space and help protect them and help them feel loved unconditionally and like worthy for just who they are, and that we're proud of them for just existing. Right? And thanking them for coming up to let us know like, hey, they're ready for us to do this type of work with them. right? That's why you're here watching this right now or in the future. And so I was putting a little crown on everybody's head and saying, good job, I'm so proud of you. We all love you very much. So if you're watching this in the future, all of this it traverses through the ether. So don't worry about like a timestamp or anything. Okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. And for my people who are here live right now, I will have this up on YouTube either tonight or tomorrow after it processes.